Hey guys, for this video today, this is a topic that I was honestly not expecting to be doing a video on, but since I saw it today and I saw the announcement of the entire Canadian Hockey League and all 60 of the franchises spread out amongst the three leagues that form the Canadian Hockey League, and now that they've switched over to now that they are switching over to the CCM Quicklite uniforms, for this 2019-2020 CHL season, I thought I'd quickly do a video and show you guys the new CCM Quicklite template for the Western Hockey League teams and quickly share some thoughts of my own on it, or on the new CCM Quicklite uniform template. So basically, on the surface, the uniforms still look more like a Reebok Edge jersey. However, the biggest change of all is the new CCM Quicklite collar, which, as you can see, is big and fat, just like the Addy Zero collar. But instead of a pentagon insert that is sewn onto the collar, this yellow insert here is just part of the collar itself. And what I mean by that is, it's not a pentagon-shaped piece of fabric that is sewn onto the collar. This is just a part of the collar that's colored in bright yellow. So also notice this weird striping inside the CCM collar. I'm not a fan of that. But overall, I honestly like the look of the CCM Quicklite jersey better than I like the Adidas Addy Zero. But once again, CCM clearly wants to play Adidas dress up with that collar style, and I'm really not a fan of it. Also, CCM's got a new patch style on the back of the jersey where the company logo goes right just below the collar. And the CCM logo will have all the little stripes under it, just like the American Hockey League teams have had now that they've switched over to CCM this past season, to the new CCM Quicklite uniforms this past season. And that's something else that I don't like either. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go through the Brandon Wheat Kings. I mean, before I move on, seriously, they've got to add some waist striping and make their arm striping go all the way around. I think they should seriously consider, hopefully sooner rather than later, a redesign for their uniforms. The next team is the Calgary Hitmen. I like the color of the collar. It is unique. I tip my hat to them for that. But you notice the pair of laces. So I prefer this lacing style better than the Adidas 3 laces that we have now in the National Hockey League. Just like here, I've got a really good example. The Buffalo Sabres 50th anniversary jersey. And you see what I mean? How the collar inserts sewn onto the collar? Well, with the CCM Quicklite, the insert is a colored part of the collar itself. And you see what I mean about the 3 laces? With CCM, you've got just a pair. But unfortunately, most of the collars that have these laces do not look very good. But it is better, in my opinion, than that Addy Zero collar that you see there. And in this case, it's not saying much. Also, I've noticed so far that with the CCM Quicklite template, you don't have any uniforms with a traditional lace-up style. It's just the mock lacing that you see there for any team that has laces. Let's move on again to the Edmonton Oil Kings. This is a team that, in my opinion, has some really great uniforms. But that collar, I can't say it enough. It's far too fat, and it doesn't look good. But at least the uniform still looks good. And notice that the waist striping is not contoured. I wish Adidas would fix that. And also notice that there's no perforations and dimples on the shoulders. That's something else that I like a hell of a lot better about CCM. And you know what? I'd rather have a jersey with a weird-looking collar than a jersey with a bunch of weird-looking things like perforated numbers, warped waist striping, and dimpled shoulders. Now, Everett, See, with Everett's, they did a really great job with their collar. Notice how by adding that little bit of forest green trim along the top that this looks more like a traditional V-neck collar, eh? See, this is what teams should do. And if more teams, like, for example, the Edmonton Oil Kings would have done a collar style like this with a pair of colors and done it exactly like the silver tips have here, holy crap, this collar style would actually look good. And thanks to the silver tips here, in my opinion, they've proven with this uniform and the collar style they went with that you can actually do a CCM Quicklite collar and make it look more like the Reebok Edge collars, and that's a good thing. Now, moving on to the Kamloops Blazers, I'm sorry, but that big bright orange collar is a little bit much. But also, I don't like this weird striping effect that they have on the collars themselves. I don't know about you viewers out there, but I really don't like that about the Quicklite collar. It's just not good. Now, moving on to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. This collar style is okay, I guess, but I could do without the pair of laces, and they should have done a collar style just like the silver tips, where it's got, in this case, a bit of red trim along the top and a little bit of white along here, where it's just a navy blue and white collar with a little bit of red piping along the top to make it look more like a traditional V-neck. That would have looked so much better. That collar, in my opinion, it's just a bit too big and a bit too much. But once again, non-contoured waist striping. That's awesome. Now, notice this Kelowna Rockets red jersey. Notice how the main Ogopogo logo on the shoulder is no longer on the front. I think this is a welcome change. I think it's good that the Rockets have done this, but I don't like this gold trim, and I'm going to say something else too. I actually feel that the Kelowna Rockets should take advantage of the fact that they have teal and make their main jersey teal. I mean, the red looks good, the color scheme's unique, but keep the red as an alternate. Wear teal as your home color. Nobody else in the Canadian Hockey League, or at least in the Western Hockey League, from what I can remember, wears teal as a main jersey color, or even teal at all. So, I mean, I don't know about you viewers out there, but I think Kelowna has an opportunity to take advantage of being the only WHL team with a main teal jersey, and I think they should take advantage. As for the collar, those white laces stick out like a sore thumb. I don't like it, and if they would have just left the collar just plain black and maybe had the top red like the silver tips, that would have been the best, or like what the silver tips have done, would have been the best thing they could have done. But overall, I've got to say, I do like this design a little bit better than what it's replacing, and I'm glad the main logo's on the front again. I do like it better than just the Ogopogo logo, head logo you see in the roundel on the shoulders. Now moving on to the Tigers, this is a team that did a phenomenal job with their Quicklite collar. It looks like a slightly fatter version of a Reebok Edge collar, and honestly, they did a great job. I have absolutely zero complaints. See, properly straight waist striping. This is how you do a hockey jersey, Adidas. Well, and in terms of the collar, Reebok is the company that got the collar style right. Even though this is way better than the Addy Zero collar, in my opinion, Reebok still has the best collars, and to my subscriber Nick, I totally agree with you. I can't agree with you enough. Now the Moose Jaw Warriors, this collar you really don't see. You're not going to really notice it much during gameplay. Up close you will, so they did a good job with the collar. I do wish they would have added some goddamn waist striping. Goodness me. And this one, and Nick, speaking of you, I know that I've discussed this quite a bit with my subscriber Nick from Nick's Blackhawks Talk. And the Blackhawks got a new Addy Zero collar design where it's now a half-finished collar, where it's the color of the jersey is the color of the collar on the front half, and then the rest of the collar is just on the back half. And imagine if Chicago would have adopted this CCM style collar with the NHL shield on this red piece of fabric. that you see here, would that not have been a perfect collar style? I think everybody would have been very, very happy with this if this was the collar that Chicago was adopting for this coming season. I know I would have been able to live with it. This would have been perfect. But you know what? I've got to say this. The Portland Winterhawks are now the second team that have the Blackhawks jersey style to show us that the new CCM Quicklite collar is far superior for this Blackhawks jersey, classic jersey design than what the Addy Crap collars have offered us for the past 2 years, and are even going to be offering us this year with the updated new collar design for the Blackhawks for this coming season, because it's better than what it's replacing. I mean, the toilet seat collar had to go, but having a half-finished collar instead of just coloring in the color of the Pentagon insert to match the main color of the collar was a mistake. And it's frustrating to see that the Portland Winterhawks and even Chicago's farm team, the Rockford Ice Hogs, got the collar right. I don't understand why Chicago and Adidas couldn't have at least found a way to make this type of collar style work. I mean, it's big and fat like the Addy Zero collar, and it's a shame that they couldn't at least find some type of better compromise than what they went with. But I've got to say, I mean, not the Chicago Blackhawks, the Portland Winterhawks here have proven that you can actually take this modern big fat collar style and make it relatively decent looking still. And you know what? I tip my hat to the Portland Winterhawks. They did a great job with the collar, and their jersey looks great. I mean, I actually like their version of the Blackhawks logo. I actually really like it, and I like how you can clearly tell if you look up close that it's different from Chicago. You know what? For a team that has a very, very similar design to Chicago, I really like the Portland Winterhawks uniforms, especially with the CCM Quicklite collar. They did a really great job here. As for the Prince Albert Raiders, I love that they wear Kelly green, but I really don't like how clunky and busy looking this uniform is, and I don't like the logo either. The collar, they got it right. The Prince George Cougars, I mean, I hate their logo. I hate their identity. They need a brand new total identity overhaul. They need a new logo, new uniforms, but in the meantime, the collar is definitely passable. Now the Red Deer Rebels, see, they're another team that got the collar style right. They made it look more like a traditional V-neck for the most part, which obviously you can tell it's not a V-neck, but they did a good job with the collar style. It's actually going to look quite good from what I can see. The only thing I would have done different is I would have switched the silver out of the collar and moved the red to where the silver is and made the part where the red is black. That's what I would have done. I think that would have been better, but they did a good job nonetheless. Moving on to the Regina Pats. With the Quicklite collar, I feel they did a good job. I have absolutely zero complaints. The Saskatoon Blades did a pretty decent job with the collar style, considering that it's bigger and fatter, but I've got to say it's too bad they couldn't keep the old V-neck style that they had last season, because that was great. This new collar style, it's okay, but it's not as good. But it's a collar style that I think I can live with, and it could be worse. Seattle's, I wish they would have just taken the lacing out and just done a collar style similar to what the Everett Silvertips and even the Red Deer Rebels have done. But it works, and the Seattle Thunderbirds have a great pair of uniforms. I love how they use the Hartford Whalers' old 90s uniforms. And you know what? I really do wish that the new NHL team going to Seattle could just be the Seattle Thunderbirds and use these uniforms. I mean, can we not all agree that these uniforms would have been great and some of the best in the NHL? The Seattle Thunderbirds here could come into the NHL tomorrow and have some of the best uniforms in the entire league. At least in my opinion. The only thing I would do for the away uniform is reduce the amount of gray that's on it, but that's it. But my goodness, I love this logo. I love the name. and I really do love the jerseys that they use, even though if I had my way, the Thunderbirds would have less gray on their away jersey, but that's just a personal opinion of mine. But still, great jerseys nonetheless. The collar design is not my favorite, but it could definitely be worse, that's for sure. Now, moving on to Spokane. See, they got the collar style right. That is a very good looking collar. It still looks relatively traditional and more like a V-neck Reebok edge collar style. And the same collar style that the Canadians had for a good part of the Reebok edge era in the NHL before they switched to those gorgeous ribbed lace-up collars that they had in the final years of Reebok that I really do miss. Those were gorgeous. But you know what? I gotta say, Spokane hit a home run with their collar as well. And their jersey and their logo still look really good. Swift Current, another team that did really good. I mean, I actually really like their jerseys, and that collar style, they did a good job. Tri-City, their collar style looks good. And as for the Vancouver Giants, their collar's okay. I think what I would have done is I maybe would have put the silver where the red is on the edge of the collar, and maybe put a bit of red on the inside to make it look a little bit more simple. I think what I would have done is I would have put this red part of the CCM collar in the gray and then made the gray part in white to replicate the collar style that the Giants have had basically since they became a team. But besides that, though, even with this collar style, I still think that the collar style that the Giants went with is okay, but I would have done it a little bit differently, but it's still passable. And I believe this is the last one, the Victoria Royals, another team that got the CCM collar style right. So overall, actually, nope, I lied. There's one more team, and that is the no longer Kootenay Ice, but now the Winnipeg Ice. And as much as I think it sucks that Kootenay has lost the ice, at the same time, I am very happy for Winnipeg. I think it's long overdue for them to have a WHL team and to have another WHL team in Manitoba. You know, it's about time that Brandon is not going to be the only Manitoba team. They need to have a Manitoba team to have a rivalry with, and for another team that's closer to home for them. So hopefully their travel times won't be as much this season. What I'm trying to say is hopefully their travel times are going to be a little bit improved now that there will be another Manitoba franchise. But this collar design, I don't like the striping, but you know what? It could be worse, and I think that Winnipeg did an okay job. But speaking of the Ice moving to Winnipeg, I really do hope that Winnipeg is going to take the Ice and take this beautiful powder blue on their uniforms and create a new jersey that's powder blue and make that their main jersey. Because, you know what? I really don't like the fact that the Kootenay Ice basically have a slightly altered version of the Kings home jersey, or the Los Angeles Kings home jersey. I want them to have their own thing, and I love powder blue, and for a team called the Ice, I couldn't think of a better color. It would be really unique, too. Because I think most teams in the CEHL do not have powder blue. So for a team like the Ice to adopt powder blue and for the Kelowna Rockets to adopt teal as their main color, those would be two design decisions that I think both of those cities should do. And you know what? That would be something that I would really like to see. But with that, you guys, I wasn't planning on making this video, but I figured, okay, since the entire Canadian Hockey League basically announced their transition to the CCM Quicklite uniform template today, I saw a link to the WHL's website showing all of the updated jerseys with the new CCM Quicklite collar, and I thought that, you know what, I'd quickly sit down tonight and film a video to share my thoughts on the collars, and even to throw a little bit of my own 2 cents on some of the uniforms as well. But anyways, you guys, what do you guys think about the CCM Quicklite collars? I I have to be honest, I still don't like them overall, but I will say this. I will take this CCM collar over the Addy Zero collar any day. But I think we can all agree that the Reebok Edge collar was the best collar, modern collar style of all. That was perfect, and I really do wish that that collar style will make a return again for both the Canadian Hockey League, actually not just both the Canadian Hockey League and the 3 leagues that form it, and the National Hockey League, but also the American Hockey League as well. I mean, I'm getting really tired of this fad of these big, ugly collars. Let's go back to having nice collars again. Let's make hockey collars look great again. It's about time. You know, the Reebok collars were perfect, in my opinion. Some of them were not perfect, but by the end of the Reebok Edge era in the NHL, the collar style was perfect. And you know what? There's an old saying, don't fix what isn't broken. I feel that CCM and Adidas have tried to fix something that wasn't broken, and it just is not as good. I mean, the Quicklite collar is much better than the Addy Zero collar, in my opinion, but you know what? It's still not great. And to me, here's how I feel about the Quicklite collar. I feel like it's a polished turd. I feel that the Addy Zero collar is a turd, but this one is a polished turd. And you know what? You can polish a turd all you want, but at the end of the day, it's still a turd. And that is not a compliment either, folks. But anyways, you guys, how do you feel about this update for the Canadian Hockey League uniforms for the 2019-2020 season? I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on that, you guys. And on that note, I will call it a wrap on this video today. I hope you have all enjoyed it. And of course, as always, you guys, until my next video, take care. And of course, as always, you guys, bye for now.